Hi, welcome to another installment of Sports from the Stool. I'm Garett Simmons.
I'm Greg Price.
Today we're going to be discussing suspensions in sports, most notably Patrice Cormier, the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League, and two basketball players from the Washington Wizards, Gilbert Arenas and Javaris Crittenden. So Greg, let's start with the the Washington Wizards. I guess quite ironically they were named the Washington Bullets not too long ago. They changed the name due to some problems with some gang affiliations, but it's quite ironic now that two of their players have been suspended indefinitely due to some gun problems. What's your take on the suspensions there, Greg?
Well, I've been hearing a lot of blogs going both ways, thinking that they were both suspended for the rest of the year without pay for bringing their guns into lockers, and it sounds like there was a bit of a dispute between them over a card game in which one gun was actually drawn, which leads me to believe I can't understand why some people would think that the suspension without pay for a year is too severe. If I were to pull a gun on you at the Tabor Times office, not only would I be suspended without pay for a year, I'd be fired, in which I would not be able to go back to my job. And can you just imagine if a future employer was asking me, so how did you get let go from your previous job? So, I mean, these players are still able to come back next year for millions and millions of dollars, yeah. So I do not see how anyone could remotely see how that being too severe of a suspension, even though Arenas is basically going to lose about $7 million.
Yeah. But an NBA locker room, Greg, it's a pretty scary place. It's a dangerous place. You've got you're surrounded by millionaire athletes with their iPods, with their with their jewel-encrusted walking sticks, and their various TV flat screens there. So I can see why you might be threatened in an NBA locker room, and you might need a gun there. You just might.
Well, one of the things was, I guess a couple people, bloggers were saying, ignorance of the law, and as we all know, with Washington D.C., I think is the second highest murder rate in the United States besides New Orleans. One or two, I'm not sure.
It's a very dangerous city, yes.
And even the NBA in their bylaws have said no guns at work, so I don't see how, again...
Which just having to draft a policy that says no guns at work is...
pretty asinine.
It's beyond belief, but I guess you have to do it, in that respect, I guess. But so I guess we can both agree that the suspensions were the right length and it was the right way to go there.
Yeah.
Okay, now on to Patrice Cormier, the captain of Canada's World Junior team. He was suspended indefinitely. It turned into a suspension that's going to last the rest of this year and the playoffs for a vicious elbow on Michael Tam, a defenseman for the Quebec Remparts. Give me your take on that suspension, Greg. How do you feel? Was that the right move to suspend him for the rest of the playoffs, for the rest of the season and the playoffs?
Well, again, I just tell you the truth. I just recently saw the hit, and you see the replays of the hit, and it doesn't even look like the player is really in the play that he does it to. And his arms are down low. It's not like it's one of these things where he's trying to do a big, huge check against the boards and his arm is already high. I mean, it went from way down here to way up here, right across the side of his head. He's well known as a player that's done this in the past. So again, I really like both of these cases, just the hard hammer that both commissioners have done with both of these instances, because really, as long as the message stays the same, if we see a like incident like this come up again, and the suspension is less just because he doesn't have that reputation.
Yeah, it has to be consistent. Time after time.
The message has to be consistent regardless of the past history of the player, and I know Cormier has a history. So
Cormier has a big history. Anyone who saw the Canada-Sweden pre-tournament game saw him throw a vicious elbow again. Well, not quite as vicious, but he threw an elbow on a Swedish player and cut him open, and he was a veritable penalty machine last year at the World Juniors. So it's not like this guy hasn't had a fair shake. I mean, we've given him plenty of opportunities to play. He was the captain of Team Canada. We expect more out of players like that, and this was a completely unacceptable hit. And it's going to come to a point where someone's going to die on the ice. I mean, you look at the equipment that they have nowadays. Elbow pads are solid plastic, shoulder pads solid plastic. I mean, you get an elbow in the head, a shoulder in the head, and you're going to be feeling that for quite a long time. And I guess, should criminal charges be laid in this case? Should Cormier go before the courts? Should he answer to a judge? Is this something that should go to a criminal court?
No, I got to draw the line at that. when you enter the arena of sport, there is some risk involved, and yes, I know that it's sort of out of the normal realm of what a normal hockey game is, but there is still that risk of real injury and that's, I guess that's part and parcel as far as sport goes. So
see, I disagree. I think something that's this malicious and this, I mean, this wasn't something that he just went out there and thought, you know, it's a last second reflex. He went out there with the intent to hurt this kid. I don't think there's much way you can dispute that. I mean, the way he threw that elbow coming straight off the bench, going right for the kid's head. And again, he's going to be a millionaire athlete again. No matter what he does this year, no matter what the suspension is, he's going to play pro hockey next year. He's going to get his contract. Suspend him for the rest of the year. Is that really a big deterrent for him? I don't know. I think a strong message has to be sent in this case. And I guess you could say, well, you know, do you suspend a football player for a dirty hit? Do you suspend?
Yeah, and
do you launch a criminal case against everybody that does something like this? But this was malicious.
And that's what the problem I have with that is it opens up a slippery slope of exactly then how you define intent, and so it just opens up too much gray area in my.
But there has to be determined put in there put in there somewhere that just outside the realm of the sports league, because I mean people aren't getting the message. They're not getting the message. So I don't know. That's my take on it anyway. And I guess lastly, does the culture of hockey need to change at the lower levels? I mean, we always hear, you know, my son doesn't play contact hockey yet, but you know, talked to a lot of coaches over the years. I mean, there's huge emphasis on finishing your checks and maybe not being dirty, but I mean, you're certainly going after players and making hard hits. You know, and does this need to change from the grassroots level all the way up?
Well, I guess it has to change from the respect of there's a way to check hard, and then there's a way to check dirty, and there's a difference with that. So I said, you know, to some degree, I guess, you know, there sort of has to be, but I guess I really don't want it to see the game turn into to turn into, you know, something that it wasn't originally. So
we want to keep it physical, but we want to keep it clean as well.
So
okay, that's our tape. See you soon from the Stool.